20 NG. 20.
Okay. Instance methods. Okay. Then we have seen the static methods. Instance variables. We have seen these concepts: instance methods, static methods, instance variables, how to access those variables outside the class. Okay. And then apart from that, we have seen the modifiers also, access modifiers like public, private, and global as well. Okay. Now we have concepts called over method overloading. Method overloading. What is a method overloading? Say, let's say inside a class, calculation class, you have created some methods like add, subtract, multiplications, right? These three are the methods. You are passing only two parameters here. Open that as well. Here we have a calculation class and we are passing only parameters. Let's say if you want to add two values, you are passing two parameters, integer x, integer y, right? And for subtraction also you have different variables. Okay. Now, if you want to pass more than two values, let's say I want to pass, or let's say I want to add three values using the addition. Add three values using this addition. Okay. In this case, what you can do is you can write the same method like add and give the different parameters. Okay. Overloading means a method declared, implemented, and once in a class with different parameters. Here, method overloading means method name will be same and parameters will be different. What we have written inside the class: public integer add of integer x, or let's say integer a, integer b. Now I have written the code like this one: return of s b. Okay. So this is a method what you have declared inside the class. Okay. Now if you want to add three values, A, B, C, or D. Say four values if you want to add, or five values if you want to add. Then what you can do is inside the same class you can declare another thing: integer add of integer A, B, integer C, integer. Let's say if you want to add three, then you can start with three declaration of variables. Then of plus B, C. Okay. Here, if you observe that method name is same. Method name is same. number of parameters are different. Okay, number of parameters. Here we have two parameters, or let's say even it's not required to give only three parameters or four parameters like that. You can declare up to 255 parameters inside a method. Okay, up to 255 parameters. A, B, C, something, A1, B1, C1, something like you can give up to 255 parameters inside a method. Then so overloading means here you are giving add of integer A, integer B, right? Two parameters, that two integer type. If you give add of string A, string B, that also possible. Only two parameters, but different data type. That's also called overloading. Overloading means same method inside the class with the different parameters. That's it. Different parameters means not the change in the parameter numbers. Maybe different data types also called as different parameters. Let's do the same. So this method we can overload the methods, instance methods as well as static methods as well. So this, if you keep it static, then this will be the static method. That's it. Static method overloading. Then other concepts are same, like how can we access the instance methods using the object? How can we access the static method using the static class name? That method name. Okay, let's do example here. Giving same fine get same. Let's use this check. Okay, now if you see here, two numbers are equals to calculation add up 10, 20. Then this method will be called because it is having two parameters. What are the parameters you are, what are the number of parameters and type of parameters you are passing when you are calling a method from outside the class? Based on that, this method will be called. Here, calculation dot add of 10, 20. Two parameters, that two integer type of values you are passing. Then here integer data type is there. Here integer data type is there. Now these two is integers. This method will be called and return the 10 plus 20. And integer equals to calculation dot add of 3, 3. Now here the second method will be called because this is having three parameters, right? So based on the number of parameters passing to the method and type of parameters you are passing to the method, based on that, the method will be called from the class. Loading. Overloading means same method name will be used more than once, and here number of parameters will be different. And here even data type also can be changed. Means parameters should be changed. Type of parameters. If you use, let's say, if you are having add method, and if you see instead of xy, you give a b, then it's not a change of parameters because number of parameters whatever declared, or here if you see this it will throw the error like see this problems method is already defined, method already defined because data types should not match even though the method name is same. Here method name I have already declared add. I give the integer, two integers are inside the method definition, so the method is already defined. And when I use the same method and pass the three values of integers, integer x, integer y, integer z, as there are change in the number of parameters, then it's overloading. Okay, this is not the overloading, this is duplicate, means method is defined. Here you have to check what are the parameter data types are declared inside the method. Here, this is integer. This is also integer. Okay, we should not declare like this one. Any questions on this? Okay, this is called method overloading. Okay, next. We don't have explanations. I'll move to the next concept called constructors. Here, constructor. Okay. What is a constructor? A constructor is statements. Constructor block of statements and like a method. A constructor is a block of statements like a method. Constructor name should be like class name. Constructor should not does not have a return type. Constructor is used to create an object. Constructor is also a group of statements like a method, and constructor name should always be as class name, and constructor is used to create an object for a class. Access modifier, class name, then That means this is syntax. Access modifier class name. There will be no return type. Be careful. There will be no return type, and constructor does not return anything. Okay. Example: if you see this calculation, calculation steps. Here, parameters will be there. Parameters are optional. Or optional. Okay. So when we use a constructor, whenever you want to pass some values to the object, you can use the constructors. One is default constructor. There are two types of constructors. Default constructor. Second one, parameterized constructor. Or constructor overloading. Okay. And here, very important concept is when you create a class, by default, one default constructor will be created inside the class. Even though if you are not declaring the constructor inside the class, the Post.com platform by default will create a default constructor. Okay, how you can say this? That's a default constructor is already exist. Please. So now these methods are instance methods because there is no static keyword. To call the instance methods, we should create an object, right? Calculation. C equals to calculation. Call C dot add of 10 comma 20 because these are instance methods. As it is returning something, you can use integer sum equals to like this. Now here, to create an object, we should use the constructor. This is nothing but a default constructor. Create an object is nothing but how to create an object. Class name, object name equals to new keyword, then constructor. This is actual syntax of the creating an object. Okay, class name, object name equals to new constructor. So what is this constructor? Whatever the constructor you are creating inside the class, those will be called to create an object. So only the work of constructor is to create an object. Constructor work is to create an object. That's it. Okay, the blueprint it will give that one. Now here, if you see that new constructor, so by default there will be one constructor. Let me this public constructor name means class name. Okay, system dot debug of constructor file. This is the constructor. So as per the syntax, what we told, access modifier, then class name. Okay, this constructor should match with the class name. Then only it will be called as class constructor. If it is not matching with the class name, then it is not a constructor. It should be a method. Okay, if you want to create a constructor, then constructor name should always with the class name. What is the use of class name? Sorry, a constructor. Constructor is used to initialize the values and to create an object. As we are saying, class name, then object name. We are trying to create an object using the constructor. Right? So here calculation C equals to new calculation. We are using. This is the default constructor. Okay. Now let's execute and see what we printed. Attempt to do differential null object. Where is this? Okay. So let's see what it is trying and why it is giving the error. See, 10, 20. What it is saying? Attempt to dereference a null object. I have already told you guys, if you don't assign any value to the variables, default will be null. Okay. Now here null value is there in integer a b. We are calling add of 10, 20 means two parameterized method we are calling. What are two parameters? Integer x, integer y. We are passing two values here. But inside this, it is trying to add a plus b. What is a? Here a is there. We have not given any value to the a, right? So a, b default values are null, right? Null plus null, that is trying to perform the arithmetic operation on the null values. So it is throwing the error, right? Now you want to change, two ways you can correct it. One is pass the values to the these two variables, a b variables, else change the a to x, b to y. Now these two will be calculated, x, y, whatever the values you are passing to this x, y, this will be worked here. Okay. Now let's see. This is debug only. Construct is defined. Okay. Next, another thing is, if see, go to the logs and check if there is any error is coming. Apex, what you can say is you can go to the log and try to see this one. Okay. Here we have currently what we are trying. We are just debug only. We are seeing that to print the some messages and to check that. Okay. Other than that, we are not seeing anything. Now try this. What is happening in the debug log? What is a debug log? What happens when you filter it? What happens when you debug it, when you executable? See, as it is saying, if you come down to end, Here, this is execute anonymous apex code unit is finished. See this, some lines you can see. Code unit finished. Execute anonymous code use finished. And see anonymous block line number 3. Where this error is coming, you can see this error. Fatal error, line number 3, column number 1. At line number 3, this was coming the error. It is line number 3. 1, 2, 3. So when you are calling at line number 3, it's giving the error. But where it is giving the exact error? Line number 3, when you are calling, giving the error, and that too at line number 11 of calculation class. It is calculation class of line number 11, right? Here it was the error. That is how you have to understand the debug log and need to correct. And what is error? Attempt to dereference a null object. Then when you are calling a line of code from the anonymous block at line number 3, trying to call the calculation class and that add method, and in that method at line number 11 it is giving the fatal error. That's error it is coming. And then what is the fatal error? System dot null pointer exception attempted to dereference a null object. Then you have to see this line number 11 and need to correct here. And it is saying at line number 11, you have to go to the line number 11 and see the code. Okay, this is how you have to identify and you have to debug the issues. Okay, now so let's say, let me print here. Giving this one and 2. Now if you see the order of execution, see first you are calling the constructor, right? First you are calling the constructor, then the constructor will be called, right? Order of execution, first constructor will be called when you are calling, when you are creating an object itself. Then whatever you are calling, that will be called. This is the order. Constructor will be always first called when you are creating an object itself. Okay, this is one type of constructor. Okay, now let's say you are not giving any values. This is the first program what we have written for class example, right? Without any parameters inside the class. Sorry, inside the methods. This is what we have written, right? So now how we were declaring the method? So usually we were all are these are all our instance methods, right? So what we were trying, c dot a equals to 50 and c dot b equals to, okay, this is what we were passing. Then we were calling the methods like c dot add, right? This is what how we were doing this one, and after was printing it's as the instance variables only. Now see This one also giving some kind of error. Should have tried that. Okay, see this. First, what we were trying, we were declaring, see, we were creating an object. We are creating an object, and then after creating an object, through the object, we are setting the values for instance variables. After that, we are calling. Let's say if I want to set something 100 and 500, again I need to change the values, right? Or let's say for some other object. So instead of passing the values to the instance variables using the object, what you can do is you can directly pass to the constructor. That is called as default, sorry, parameterized constructor. Let's say same, you can pass to the third. Here you can have any number of things like integer, a, j, b. Okay. Now then, what is the advantage? Is declare this. What is the advantage? So when you pass the values to the constructor, then this is related to this object. Okay. After that, what you need to do is you have to, let's say you can give it x, y as well. This is also same as method, but for the object creation, we can use the constructor. Now here, I need to pass the values while creating constructor itself. Then need to assign into the A, B variables. What you can do is this dot A equals to X, this dot B equals to Y. Now you know the order of execution. When you call this constructor with two values like 20, 30, or whatever the values we pass, it will come to this constructor and then assign the first value to the A and second value to the B. Then that can be used inside any instance methods. Okay, so let's say I'm not going to give anything here. I'm giving 50, 100. Execute. Say this, add it to. Okay, that's how you can declare a parameterized constructor. Same as the method, you can have any number of, then it is called as constructor, parameterized constructor. Then, or you can say this constructor overloading also. Overloading means with the same name, if you have different parameters, that's called overloading. That's it. If it is a method, it's a method overloading. If it is a constructor, then it's called as a constructor overloading. Okay. So, any questions on this, guys? Not on this. Pretty pause the video. Okay. So here I'm using this keyword. What is this keyword? It refers to the same object. Means if you say calculation C equals to new calculation, this is the current object what we are creating. Now for this object, what are the values has to be added or let's say assigned to these variables. This is reference to the current object. That's it. Nothing other than that. So if you want to set the values to the instance variables of this class, then you can use this keyword. This dot, then A. That's it. Nothing other than that. Okay. Now till now, what we have seen is uh, constructor. We have seen constructor overloading. We have seen method. We have already told, and method overloading is also done. Now we can see overriding concept. These are all overloading. Overloading means the same name, different parameters. That's called overloading. Then what is a overriding? Here, this is very, very important concept. Till now, if you observe that method overloading is happening inside the same class, right? Inside the same class, if you want to overload the constructor, what you are trying to do, constructor, you have created your default constructor and then parameterized constructor. And if you want to overload the methods, then same method with different parameters. That's also I have seen. What is a overriding? Overriding will always happen in two different ways. I mean, within the two different classes. It's not in the same class. Okay. Method overriding. Method overriding. Method declared in a superclass can be overridden child or subclass with same parameters. Here also same parameters and same parameters and same name. Okay, when you observe overloading, method name will be same, parameters will be different, and it will be in the same class. But in method overriding, it will be in two different classes. One is parent class and another one child class. There will be parent class and child class. Then the parameters should be same, name also should be same. Okay, parameters and name should be same. Then only it can be called as method overriding. What is overriding? So what are the functionalities already exist that we are trying to change in according to our requirement? That's called as overriding. Okay, they might be already declared or things. So overriding will be happened using virtual class, abstract class, third one, interface. Okay, overriding can be used by using three types of classes. I mean, you can say this virtual class, abstract class, and interface. Okay, first we will see how the virtual class will be there and how it can be used in the overriding concept. Okay, I'm using example virtual parent. This is the class name I'm giving. Okay, virtual class name. I'm just simply declaring a method public void parent method. Okay, so this is the normal instance method. Okay, you can use system dot method from a parent. Public void parent method. Now, if you use, let's say, let me create another class, virtual child. I'm giving these names to make you understand easily. Okay? Public. If I declare the same method also, let's say this is a method. So I have created two classes, virtual parent, virtual child. Then I have declared a method, or I have created a method, one instance method with same parameters and same statements also. There is no change. Now, how can we say if it is a child and if it is a parent? Okay, what you need to do is to make the class as a parent, or it will be the child. You have to use extends parent name like virtual parent. See this, it will give some error now. See this. So if you want to make one class as a parent, want to make one class as a parent, then it should be any one of these one, virtual, abstract, or interface. Virtual class or abstract class or interface. I have already told you guys. Then just declare virtual keyboard after. So virtual child. Give this first. Non-virtual. This means the class should be declared as virtual or abstract, then only they are eligible to make it as a parent for child. How can we do this? Using extends keyword, then the class name. Okay. Now, if you see here, it's throwing one another. Non-virtual, non-abstract methods cannot be overridden. Okay. It means if you want to override a method, then it should be virtual method. Okay. It should be virtual method. If you want to override a method from one class and its subclass, then it should be a virtual method.